Smoke sesh with Angel.
Yes, here we go. Welcome to the Firesign chat with Angel. Welcome back, dude. This is three times the charm. I think you're breaking a record right now for the most consistent guest that's come into our universe. So thank you for taking the time to hang out with us today. And before I get started, I just want to say, please subscribe to Bloody F Mess Official on YouTube, the Church of Rock. Bloody, you have done so much for us. I just want to say thank you for the support you've, coming to my channel and wanting to talk and trying to spread the gospel of Bloody F Mess to my friends and now I appreciate all the subscribers that have come through because of you, because of your channel and the people that you know. So thank you to the fans out there.
Well, I'm really grateful as well that you have the interest in me that you do, man. And I'm blessed to have you as a friend and glad you're a fan of some of the music I've done. And yeah, appreciate you as well, Angel.
Yeah, dude. And, it just goes without saying how much, our friendship has evolved.
Thank you, man. I like your t-shirt, by the way.
Oh, yeah. This is, there we go, guys.
Artwork by the wonderful Dave Moe from that's from our Davenport, Iowa show. Thanks for supporting, man.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
I got my Callidius Time Bomb shirt on, one of the bands that opened for us in Chicago.
Yeah. They were something else. But yeah, so it's your 1 year anniversary of this channel and your YouTube journey now, which can you remember kind of going back to the beginning, like before you even uploaded that video? And I'm just curious what your
I originally started YouTube about 15 years ago under the name Derek Moody. And just a little secret, there's a third channel that I have that's called Derek Moody, and I don't advertise it, but it's got like 100 something subscribers, and I just put like weird nature stuff and just fun stuff. But I had that up for 15 years before I started using it like a year ago. And then I was on the phone talking to Mark Robinson, the guy that owns Ponk Media, and he put out, some of the great Tiny Tim material and Gigi Allen's last album. And he was talking to me on the phone, and he's like, "Man, dude, you've got so many stories and so many things you've done." And he agreed with me. Screw writing a book. That's old school. That's back primitive days.
Yeah.
You got to write it. You got to print it, and then worst of all, you got to distribute it. So people in the Congo and like Germany and India and East Peoria, Illinois, they can't just get that book. But when I do a video and each little tale is a separate little chapter that would have maybe been in the book, it hits people on all quarters of the world immediately. So I love books, but I definitely won't write one, and I'll just keep doing the Bloody F Mess Official because that's, to me, just the more immediacy and less work.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's cool that it's going strong, and may it keep flourishing. And we had a good time at the live stream as well.
I did, man. A lot of the regulars, I call them the regulars, showed up. People that are pretty much watch every video, always comment, always reach out to me personally. There's a whole slew of regulars, and I love them to death, man. They're definitely my tribe. I told my wife, Tracy, doing music and radio is a great connector with people. But I'm telling you, I've never had the direct connections like YouTube. Like I can put a story up, as you know,
yeah.
And 2 minutes later, somebody's talking to me about it. It's like, boom, immediacy,
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love about technology. Like Ram Dass used to say, it could be a vast wasteland in the internet and all Facebook and all that stuff. But if it's used properly, kind of like drugs, if you use them properly, they're great tools. They absolutely can be used for high frequency things and not just gossip or, politics or, serial killer stories, which is all fun. But you know what I'm saying?
No, yeah. I mean, I definitely I like to go high and definitely love to go low, but there's a point And I think, yeah, you were talking about it in your last video about just like trying to tell high frequency tales, even though it's like kind of debauchery, which that's kind of an interesting like dichotomy where you're like, coming in very positive, but then, you're telling these really like kind of, depraved stories.
Oh yeah, it's definitely fluctuating between high and low frequencies. But even if it's a low frequency kind of story or a memory, the delivery is important, and also the context of the fact that it's being told decades and decades later. It keeps it on the high frequency. It's just sharing history with people that have an interest like you and I. We like a good car crash. We don't want to necessarily see someone get hurt, but we can't walk away from the car crash.
No, and it kind of goes into the stuff that you were doing early on, because you're kind of straddling both sides of punk rock, but then rock and roll and just all encompassing. I mean, how obviously,
Well, even
yeah.
Well, even these days, as you witnessed in Chicago briefly, I do like to incorporate all the stuff I've done in my life, which started out as first few years of my life was strictly hardcore punk, thrash.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got more into punk rock, like more different types of punk, not hardcore, but punk rock. Then I ended up going into country, outlaw country and blues. And then, of course, coming back around to doing some rock and then back into punk rock. And so these days, like when I perform, I like to do it all. I like to do a lot of punk, some rock and roll, a little bit of outlaw country, a little bit of blues, but mostly I keep it high energy punk rock. But I've come to find that most of the fans of all these genres kind of do like each other's stuff, especially as we've gotten older. More of us older punk rockers have come full circle, and we just dig it all. If it's good, it's good, but we still carry the punk rock torch, and we still, that's my favorite, but I like it all.
Yeah. Little did I know what I was expecting when we went to meet up in Chicago. So let's go back, 3 weeks ago at this point.
Yeah.
Now?
Yep.
To that night in Chicago. Now, from watching the Davenport show, you were definitely going for it. You sounded really good, and honestly, like there was points I'm like trying to listen closely to see, okay, where in the set did you start to feel your voice kind of go, because obviously you sounded good at rehearsal the day before. Show in Davenport, you sounded great, but what was there a point where you're like, uh-oh, my voice is going?
Pretty much the whole show, man. It was the adrenaline takes over though, and it keeps me going. But there was a time in Davenport where I literally whispered in Jeff Hyde's ear, the singer for Super 88 and the backing vocalist for my set. I literally said to him about halfway through, I said, man, I can't do this. And I meant it. Like, I'm literally got to go. And he goes, yes, you can. And I'm like, okay, I can. And then I looked at the bass player, Chris Anderson, who's the happiest bass player on the planet Earth, always smiling when he's playing, just always having fun. And I literally thought, I'm going to go stand next to Chris and I'm going to sap some of this guy's energy, because it's everything's energy. So I'm going to stand next to this guy and take what he's got, and I'm going to apply it to this voice, and I'm going to get through this goddamn show. Right. But I literally thought I couldn't do it. At one point, I had to ask Jeff to step up and do extra backing vocals and stuff we hadn't rehearsed. And as you saw on that video, I had to call Lisa Leathers up on stage to sing Empty with me, because I literally was unable to do so. I couldn't have done the choruses. Yeah. So everyone's like, oh, that was all planned, right? And I go, no, actually it wasn't. Lisa just came up like a champ and saved my ass.
I mean, it takes a village to keep bloody,
It's kind of fun, because I've noticed that certain gigs, I can just put the mic out, like you see, like these lame ass dudes like Vince Neil, for instance, guy that can't sing. He's completely been out of it for decades, just does it for the money. He's fake. He's just backing tapes, whatever.
Looking for another good time. My heart, oh my God, yeah.
No offense to the Motley Crue fans, but that's true stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I noticed he puts the mic into the crowd a lot instead of singing himself, and it works. The crowd will sing, but where does it cross the line between doing that to like let the fans genuinely sing, or you just doing it to save your own ass? I've learned you can do that. I mean, you can put the mic out and they'll sing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a balance. I think the greats like Freddie Mercury in particular the Live Aid appearance. You know,
Wow.
it should always be like, you know, we're in this together, right? You're like, you know, I'll sing a line, you sing a line, but yeah, to just do this for the entire, yeah, that's
Freddie Mercury, big fan, big fan.
oh yeah, but yeah, I mean, on the surface, you know, watching it, I'm just like, oh, I mean, it just seemed very professional, if you will. Like, definitely one thing I definitely noticed you live is you're not a quitter. As far as, you know, yeah, you'll still plow through. I mean, so yeah, so Chicago. So you sent me a message and I could hear your voice already, like really rough. I'm like, oh no.
Hey, brother. Yeah, my voice is kind of hurting, man, so I'm talking kind of low. But going to pull out the best I can for tonight, my man. But I'm definitely lacking in some vocal issues right now. But yeah, look forward to seeing you there, brother. I'm just going to have to keep it down so I can hopefully pull it off.
Honestly, like everything kind of evaporated once we got to once I saw you. Actually, Athena pointed you out. It's like, I think that's Bloody. And well, and I'm glad we captured that.
Yeah, it was great to meet you guys, man. It was like just seeing old family, you know. It was like you said, it was no awkwardness or weirdness. It just, there's a genuine connection that this music brings to people. And I met people in their 20s all the way through the like 60s and 70s that came out to these shows, and very heartfelt group of people, man. I mean, for a bunch of people that are rough around the edges and been doing punk rock and leather jackets and drinking and smoking for, I don't think there was many people that didn't give me a hug. There was a few people, man, that I went to shake hands with because they were kind of the Midwestern kind of like barriers, energy around them, like don't hug me kind of vibe, which is how I used to be.
Yeah.
And I literally said, screw that. And I'd give them a hug and they were genuinely shocked. And you know, and they were cool with it, but just like, wow, this guy hugs people. And I'm like, look, man, after 42 years, you're paying $15 to come and see me. I know there's a reason you're here, and it's not just because you want to hear the music. There's a connection with you and with me, with you. And so sometimes the way to validate that is to give somebody a freaking hug. I know it sounds hippy dippy woo woo, but when I moved to Oregon 15 years ago, if you would have tried to hug me, I would have been like, pretty much said, nah, I don't do that. But then one day, man, I don't know who it was, but somebody said, look, put your heart on my heart. And it just hit me somehow. I'm like, wow, you're right. There's a connection that's way different than a handshake, you know? So most of the people that walked in the doors of both those shows got a hug and hung out with me. And I just, I feel a genuine lack of, I feel a genuine and massive gratitude for people that want to connect with their favorite singers and artists, because I have, you know, plenty of people like Michael Monroe next week going to see him in LA. I feel the way towards Michael how some of the people that I ran into described how they feel about me. And it's like, so what I do is I transfer that into my life. How would I want Michael to treat me? I'd want a hug. Hey, what's up, Bloody? And so that's how I treat my peeps. You know, the tribe is to be respected. And you know, the reason punk rock came together was to separate that audience crowd thing from the stage. There should be no separation, for Christ's sake. And if there is, then it needs to be brought back down to a smaller club and to get everyone's ego back in check. So for me, it's literally the whole rock and roll experience for me is not about me. It is, but it's about you guys. It's about the fans. It's about the people that love music and love eccentric personalities and weirdos and rock and roll and all that. Because I've got plenty of people I'm a fan of, and I'll be the first to admit it. My walls are covered in posters of people I look up to. I don't idolize them. I don't put them on pedestals. I know that some of them I probably wouldn't get along with. That's cool. But I still love them, and, you know, they're like demigods, you know, and that's how the world is, you know, like some people that are a fan of you are like, yeah, I love that Angel channel. It's the same thing, man. And you reciprocate by putting out more content. Well, these days I just try to reciprocate by showing gratitude and being present for my peeps, being there, you know?
But yeah, so obviously we shot it, which was that was wild. I think I was telling you about it. Like, it felt like it was combat photography, which that also kind of messed up the Davenport video, right? It was like, yeah, you had it looked like a big crowd there. Like, you had a lot of people.
We had a lot of people, but the camera either got knocked over or something happened. It's no fault of Kenny, the videographer, but somehow the camera got messed up and our song Skies Are Black did not make the video. And that's was a super kick in the teeth. I told him, oh, it couldn't have been any worse of a song to lose because it's one of my very, very favorites on the Dark Days Unfazed album. And I wanted to hear the live version, which was really slower than the album even. It was dirty, gritty, extremely soulful. There you go, man.
Got to pull that out right there.
Just released on cassette tape too, man. Bird Eater Entertainment, man. Woohoo!
That's very cool. Shout out to them. But so getting back to the show, and like obviously Super 88 were amazing. Probably the best backing band. Would you say that you've
Oh my God.
All the bands,
dude, you got to give it up. Super 88 absolutely are a killer band. Been together 26 years. And the big star, you know, at least for these shows, was Dave Moe, because he's got a name that's synonymous with me from being in Bloody and the Transfusions for 5 years. Dave Moe is nothing short of a legend and definitely a genius without a doubt.
And a sweetheart. It was really cool to meet that guy. Jetty, what's up, girl?
I did have my girl Jet Dog say hi.
Mochi's back here.
We have to put Jet on film. Oh, look at the puppy. Look at the puppy, Jetty. See? The pup right there.
He's more
Puppy?
interested in what's outside.
She's watching you. She's watching you. Yeah. This is Jet Dog. She's a star.
Oh, she's the best. Yeah. So Super 88 was great. Caldius Time Bomb.
Callidius Time Bomb.
Callidius Time Bomb. Did you pick any of these bands, or was it all?
No, I didn't. It was Punk Rock Tacos put on the show. Shout out to Noah, and of course with Dave Horniak from Livewire Lounge. And they said, we're going to get a couple bands that we think would be good to open for you from the area, Chicago, because they specifically wanted Chicago bands. And the Horrids, man, those guys, I love them. I have to say, I'm a big fan of that kind of punk rock. The energy and the showmanship and the passion was crazy good. Mm-hmm. And I told the singer, I said, I think you're my favorite new punk band, man. You guys are up there. I like your stuff. And then Callidius Time Bomb, I had no clue. And then I walk in and the guy's got this big silver like horn mask on with this almost cult-like looking outfit. And I'm immediately in, man. I'm one of those guys that joins cult easily.
Oh, I mean, well,
joking. I'm just joking, but I love it.
Yeah,
I like things that have novelty and shtick, and I like theater a lot. And I thought they were really, 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 really good.
So, but yeah, so they were super cool. And then, yeah, the Horrids. And then, of course, your set, which, I was, like I said, I think I told you, it was definitely like a full circle thing, because now this is what everybody, you know, loves about you is the way you perform, and just how much you, you weren't quitting that night. I can tell your voice was kind of going up and down, almost to like a growl, like howling wolf growling, but.
It was embarrassing, man. I was like, you know, I got to get through this somehow, and at least we got to do half the set. That was cool.
I was telling Athena, like, as we were shooting it, you know, which is, you know, obviously it's hard for me to not want to interact, you know, with the instead of just being like a camera guy, like I want to be in there, but also having fun pumping my fists, because it was fantastic. And
thank you, man. It meant the world to me that you and Athena came. It was really great to see you guys, and I was happy knowing that you were documenting it.
Yeah. And just seeing your daughter, or meeting your daughter, Audrey, shout out to her, who is like probably the star of the evening, if you will. Like
You know what she said? She goes, I don't ever want to see any of those videos ever.
oh,
She was buzzed, you know.
yeah. So okay. Keep that.
But she'll probably end up watching it, maybe, I don't know. But she definitely is not the kind of person that gets on stage. I've had a radio show 25 years. She's never once come on the show. Wants nothing to do with being in the public spotlight. I've tried to get her to start a TikTok or a YouTube because she meets like 3 or 4 legends daily for years. She's got a crazy life. Won't have it. But that night she was up on stage, and that just goes to show you how much she drank.
Yeah, I mean,
she was having fun supporting her old man, you know.
Yeah, and it was also St. Patrick's Day weekend, which is kind of crazy overbooked evening. There was a lot of stuff going on that night. So, but
yeah, it was fun, man. I was glad she was there having fun, and everybody seemed to be having a good time.
Yeah.
He's not his goddamn fault. He wants to be here. He loves you. Some say what's up to Bloody. Fucking made through a lot of this fucking show. It's killing him, man.
Yeah. And then your voice was pretty much shot until it kind of reappeared the next day, right? That was
so freaking weird.
Yeah.
The voice thing's weird. I went too hard on rehearsal, and I told the guys in Super 88, when I fly into Illinois, we don't really need to rehearse. And they said, well, we'd be more comfortable if we could get one rehearsal. I said, okay. Telling you though, I know my stuff and I know you do, so there's no need for this.
Yeah.
And that's just the confidence, because I've did my homework, and I've done this a dozen times where I've flown into different states and cities and no rehearsals, or maybe one. It always works out perfect. Everyone just has to know their timing, and I'm good at timing. And I blew my voice out that night. I didn't blow it out at practice, but it was just full on perfect. I was like, yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah.
The next day I woke up going, better drink some hot tea, some throat coat. And then during Davenport, it was going in and out.
Okay.
And then I was so worried the next day. I'm like, dude, if I can't sing in Chicago, I'm going to just have to get everybody a refund. That's all I kept thinking was, I'm going to demand everyone get their money back, because I'm not going to be one of those performers that just grabs the cash. Sorry, I can't help you, but I'm leaving now. My voice is out. You're screwed. But like they said, Dave said, hey, man, everyone was given a 30-minute set, and you had whatever time slot you wanted. We didn't agree on a time slot. So you did 30, and that's what everyone else did. So you fulfilled your commitment here. I said, thank you, bro.
Yeah.
And he asked me to come back, next year again, too. So, and plus, nobody complained. Not one person said, I want a refund, or you suck, or I was expecting more songs. Some people even said, we thought that was your set. We didn't even know, dude. I'm like, you were probably drinking much more than Audrey, I guess.
Well, and yeah, obviously there was some choice cuts that we didn't get to hear, but what we got in return, on the other hand, was like this. It was like a big family jam. It was like kind of like Willie Nelson and family jams, or Manson and family jams. Like it's just more like Manson, I would say. I gotta say, your fans are something else. They're wild, and I was like, that was the other part about the whole evening that just made it so like just all encompassing. It's like, yeah, you have some very devoted, nutty fans, and God bless them. It's almost like the punk rock Grateful Dead, or the punk rock
Well, you know what? Like attracts like.
Yep. Here, let me take a little break here.
Yeah, I can't wait for that video. You guys, Angel and Athena filmed the Chicago show. And at first I said, nah, I don't want to put that out there. It shows me, in moments of weakness. And then I thought about it. I'm like, wait a minute. Sometimes that's good, though, to be transparent and put stuff like that under a microscope, because it's kind of fun. And then you add in, like you said, all these passionate people up on stage, the audience singing, the fact that I was not giving in and I kept my poker face going. And plus I decided, let's just go as long as we can. And getting JFSA up there to sing Empty for me was brilliant, because it got Ricky up there. It got Audrey. People were up there singing backups. People in the crowd were singing. It was just I'm up there mouthing the words next to a guy singing my song, and it was just surreal. But I'm like, I'm so glad Angel's here filming this.
Yep. mean, and you know, of course, shout out to Athena for
Of course.
being up in the front and just like
Having to shove guys out of the way.
yeah, getting
Dealing with crazies, dealing with crazy guys bumping into her and stuff. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah. So,
You know what my ex yoga teacher told me? We were talking about this one time when I was doing yoga with this guy, and I'm talking. Shout out to Hari Om Radhakrishna. But I was doing yoga years ago, and I can like stand on my head. By the way, I'm like good at this stuff. I'm very flexible, but I don't know why I said that. But Hari Om Radhakrishna, we were talking about
that. You should
right.
Yeah,
I could
tell a story like standing on your head. I mean, not that I want to tell how to do your show, but
Bloody does yoga. Well, you know, we were talking about Bhagavan Das, and if anyone out there is familiar with Bhagavan Das, you'll understand this. But if you don't know who he is, absolutely worth your time to check him out. Never mind, Bhagavan Das. Bhagavan Das is he's in the spiritual world, somebody that's very, very controversial. There's even a movie about him called Carmageddon. But I was managing Bhagavan Das for a while, and Bhagavan Das is the guy that told Ram Dass in Hawaii or in India back in like this late 60s, be here now. And then Ram Dass went and wrote a book called Be Here Now, which has never been out of print since like 70. Yeah. So Bhagavan Das is a trippy dude, man, right? And he's known as some as being crazy. Well, I was his manager, so people were like, yeah, perfect. Bloody's managing Bhagavan Das. They're both fucking nuts.
I gotta look this
up. I was talking to my yoga teacher about my predicament, because he knew me, my real me, how I am in my normal self, which is kind of how I am right this minute with you.
Yeah.
But Hari Om said, you don't differentiate what you do with a stage persona like other people do that. Like, oh, I know the real person behind Bloody. No, Bloody's Bloody whether he's on or off stage. I'm just a performer, dude. It's a name. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you call me Derek Don or Bloody. It's still Bloody. So I was telling Hari Om my predicament with people putting me on this pedestal and saying things like, you're the dive bar superstar and you blah, blah, blah. Stop posting pictures with your puppy. You're like this, biker punk from hell, bro. And I'm like, no, that's you projecting that, you nut. That's your head. You're crazy. Get a shrink. I'm just a dude, man. And I have puppies, and I also like my leather, and I like to smoke, and I like to hang out with crazies. So I'm hanging out with Bhagavan Das, and Hari Om goes, look, man, there's two forms of crazy. And first of all, everybody's crazy, he says. Everybody's crazy. He goes, just hear me out. I said, okay. And he goes, there's happy crazy, and there's sad crazy. And he says, you, my friend, are happy crazy. And then I thought about it for a while, I contemplated this for a week. And I'm like, this guy's absolutely right. Everyone's batshit crazy. There's varying levels of it. There's the guy out there on the corner that's out there screaming and he's completely insane, breaking stuff, yelling. He doesn't know he's crazy. He's probably sad crazy. Guys like me that can go, yeah, man, boom, boom. Ain't it great to be crazy? We're happy crazy. I would hurt nobody. I'm a good guy. I'm honest. Then you got people that are mean. Like you go to certain punk shows, like I won't name names, big bands that have like these guys out there sig-hailing the band and big old skins and people that would beat the shit out of you just for fun. Yeah. I would never do something like that, bro. So there's happy and sad crazy. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And the people that come to those shows when I play, definitely a bag of mixed nuts. And like I say, attracts like, though. Yeah. But I can say this about those people is I bet you none of those people are bad people. Like I think they're happy crazy.
Yeah. Well,
I don't think they would actually hurt anybody or be mean or like the kind of people that you couldn't ask for help if you needed it. But yeah, they're crazy, especially when you pour some booze on it, then people get really fruity, Oh
yeah. And yeah, that's, and obviously like, I know you mentioned in one of your video or in the video about the show that you had a few beers to calm down, which, obviously like I was a little like, uh-oh, I hope everything's okay. But then, just seeing how you conducted yourself that night, I'm like, okay, like I'm not worried about you any, like,
well, I hadn't drank. First of all, thank you for caring. I appreciate that, man. You were probably one of 10 or 12 people that freaked and said to me or somebody, dude, are you relapsing? I'm like, look, I never went to like AA or took sobriety classes, or I don't count the number of days I was sober. I can tell you years, 13 years. But that night, somebody said to me, you know how you use cannabis medicinally? I said, yeah. And your shrooms? I go, yeah. He goes, because Ricky says, everyone's having fun but you, man. You're tense and you're just uptight and nervous. What's going on? And I go, you're right, bro, but my voice is gone. I'm letting these people down. Of course it's going to affect me and make me upset because the people deserve what they paid for, and I'm bummed out about it. But he's like, Blood, you did a good show, but you're not having fun, and everyone else is. And then my buddy says, you could use a beer medicinally. And I thought about it for about a half hour, and I'm like, you know what? He's right. I'm in control of this body. I'm the pilot of this ship. I make the rules, and I can break the fucking rules. So I am going to have a beer, but I'm not getting wasted. I'm not drinking the shot that the owner's trying to buy me. I'm not going to drink afterwards. I'm not drinking next week. And I had a beer, and halfway through that tall boy PBR, I swear you, it was like an old friend was hanging out with me, and I felt 50,000 times better, relaxed. And then, of course, when I tell the story to some people, they're like, that's the addict in you talking. Like, fine. But it's still truth. And I had that half a can of beer, and dude, I was like, oh my God, I finally was relaxed. Yeah. So I ended up having, in a 4-hour span, 3 or 4 beers, and that was it. And I didn't even feel crappy the next day. And now I actually think if I would have had a beer before that Davenport show, it would have been way better, because I was a little nervous there. And if I thought, man, why not think about it in terms of medicinal? Sure, it's alcohol, and maybe it is the addict talking. But the addict's also telling truth. And that helped me, like we were talking about tools earlier about the internet. If you use things right, they're not wrong. You know, you get your leg cut off, you might want the morphine, but otherwise not so much, you know?
Yeah. And I saw it definitely gave you a jolt. I mean, you were spinning around. I was like, oh, like definitely getting down.
Well, you know, even just having I only had 1.5 beers before we performed. So that was literally just like people say, oh, it's a social drug. And that's kind of what I was using it for, just to unwind. And I don't recommend anyone that's had problems with drinking do what I did. It's not smart. It's shitty decision making, but it worked for me. And I probably won't have another beer till my next gig, but I will have one at my next gig because it helps me. And if I have even one before the show, it's perfect. Same time, Angel, I was kind of worried about I didn't even really dress up in the stuff I wear when I do shows. I like to wear my special clothes that I save. Like I have the clothes I have on now, and then I have other clothes that are cooler, and I save those clothes for when I play. But that night I'm like, I'm just not even going to do that. I'm just going to wear what I'm wearing, because if I don't deliver vocally, I don't want to look cool but sound like crap. That's just lame. So I thought I'm just going to keep it really real tonight. And I just kept my street threads on, which, you know, same thing as my stage threads.
But you still look cool. I mean, no matter what. It's like,
I just didn't want to fail on one front and then be like, yeah, this dude's funny. He looks good, but he can't even sing. And I thought that shit, you know, and I'm like, ah. So that's why I thought maybe not even introduce it, because again, if I fail here, maybe I don't want my name shouted out. You know what I mean? I don't need the extra attention.
Right. Well, you definitely got a very glowing intro in Davenport, so Davenport, you have a bit of a history, which I recently read about, because so you just played there, but some years before, didn't you get some trouble there?
Yeah. We played there quite a few times over the years, and it was never really a good spot. And that was the first time in my life I had a good show in Iowa. I played Iowa 5-6 times, and I've never had a very big crowd. And, you know, I don't always judge a show by the crowd size. It's the sound that comes from the audience and how much fun I have too. But it is, let's face it, everybody wants to have a good crowd. And I've never really had one in Iowa. But that night was different. And we played back, and one of the times we played there with Bloody Mess and the Scabs back in oh, Jesus, I never talk about this. What year was that? What year was it? 89, probably? 90, 89? We played at the Firelighter Tavern. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to watch this that are going to be offended. But that's just ridiculous. Hey. It's just a story.
If you want to go.
No, we'll tell it, man. Fuck it, bro. We basically had a bunch of flags that you buy on these little poles that are like they look like an ink pen sized pole, the little flag about this big. we had them taped up all around my drummer's drum set, and I was holding some flags, American flags. By the way, I did this in Nashville with the Confederate flag once too. Woo! But anyway, so we're on stage in Davenport, and I don't know, had three-fourths of the set, halfway through the set, maybe even earlier, we torched them. And so these things are burning while we're performing. There was not that many people there, like 20 or 30 people. It was very underattended. We were just drunk. We did it to be obnoxious. Sure. We also did it to make a political statement at the time. There was a lot of reasons behind it, but we did it. And people were literally just livid. And what happened was people reported it to like all the like American Legion and all the veterans of foreign war and like the newspapers and the radio. Next thing you know, I get a call from, what is it, the Loop? Or not, was it the Loop? Not the Loop. The famous rock station in Davenport, I forget, but they were a big one, like 97X or something, 97X, I don't know. Okay. Can't remember, but they called me and they're like, hey man, we want to have you on the show tomorrow. You guys in town? We got people calling here threatening to kill you, doing all these things to you. You better not go to that club. Are you playing tonight? Because it was a two-nighter. Oh. So we went down to the club to see what was going on down there, man. And there was people picketing, like protesting, like, don't let these guys play here again tonight. And then there was all of our posters had been ripped down and ripped in half, and there was signs that was not good. That night outside the show, a guy took me out back when I went outside to pee, and he says, hey man, I've got a gun. And he showed it to me. He goes, I'm gonna wrap it going home. I'm getting an American flag. I'm gonna soak it in gasoline. I'm coming back down here and I'm gonna wrap this around you and set you on fire before you leave here tonight, bro. And he was serious. And I was like, wow. I told my band, we got to get out of here. This is not getting pretty. This guy ain't kidding. I can tell you, just the thought of being wrapped in something in gasoline and set on fire because I burned a piece of goddamn cloth. I'm like, I'm out of Dodge. So we left. But the next morning after going to the club, we ended up going to that radio station. We did a live interview. People were calling in. We were taking calls. It was very not pretty, like my old song, not very pretty, not very pretty. And it was bad, but eventually the band got up and walked out because I was just getting overboard, and my bass player was mad because I was saying a lot of really politically incorrect stuff. And at that point, people were threatening to hurt me and all this nasty stuff. So I thought, you know what? Screw you people. And I just literally went overboard and said a lot of things I would never have said now. But I did then. I said it then. And I meant it then. But now I look back and cringe. But it's just a story, folks. And if you want to hate me, hate away. Join the wagon, but jump on the bandwagon. But so we did the interview, and people were literally going to say they were going to kill us. Dude, we drove home and decided to forget that gig, of course, because we were, probably not going to play anyway. I get home, and my mother, who I checked in to see, and she's the phone that I had to use. I didn't have cell phones back then, so I always had to use my mother's phone, poor lady. She goes, I have been fielding phone calls all afternoon from at least 8 different newspapers. I go, 8? She goes, at least. I go, what? Including UPI, United Press International. But Galesburg, Illinois, Moline, Illinois, Rockford, Illinois, Davenport, and other cities, all either front page. A lot of them were front page, and some of them were not front page. The next day was in all these newspapers about this band, the Tri-Ladder Tavern, that burned flags in front of all these people, and there was not a lot of people. And we didn't burn a lot of flags, a bunch of little ones. But yeah, it was a big deal, bro. And people were calling me for like a week, and I was doing interviews. And at the time, that band, Bloody Mess and the Scabs, was a nihilistic band. And our only mission was to make records, party a lot, and play places and never be asked back to any of them, be banned from everywhere. And that's what we wanted to be, banned from the pubs.
The calls from angry listeners started pouring in almost immediately after the interview started.
Bloody Mess tonight at the Tri-Ladder. We'll burn the American flag, right?
That's right. Party, so all you veterans, come on down.
The band is called Bloody Mess and the Scabs, a punk rock band out of Peoria. And as part of their act, they rip and burn American flags.
Well, our purpose is just to have a good time and let people know that we can do it, and it's not that big a deal, and they don't need to be so uptight about a piece of cloth.
The real controversy started last night here at the Tri-Ladder. The band, the Bloody Mess and the Scabs, ended their act with their usual flag burning. Audiences were outraged, the owners shocked.
What we do is we provide entertainment 7 days a week, bring in bands, And that's not the kind of band that we want to represent the Quad City and represent the Tri-Lighter.
Local posts of the American Legion have been bombarded with phone calls all day, but have vowed to handle the situation peacefully.
If you have violence, why, you might win a battle, but you lose the war. So it pays to be seen, but in the right light.
The show has been canceled for tonight and another band booked.
Don't support an act like this, you know. Just let them go. And the Tri-Lighter hasn't paid them a cent, and they won't pay them a cent. We'll do nothing to support this act. In fact, we'll go out of our way to see that they don't play anywhere else.
It's believed that Bloody Mess and the Scabs is headed back to Peoria. It's unsure when, where, or if they'll play again. Mike Kelly, Activate News, Davenport.
And I got, of course,
you got them. There's the first record and the Empty, my second single. Yep.
Which, tell me about this song. So, you know, I did ask you about reading some stuff, but I do want to ask you about some songs, especially the ones that have been in our head. But like Empty, for example, hearing it live with and can you tell me the guy that was singing his name again?
Yeah, that's Jay. He's the singer, guitarist of a band called Full Shred Ahead, FSA, and they've been covering that song for at least a decade, and they're from Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And so he's one of about a dozen people that cover Empty in this country. There's a lot of bands that cover Empty. Beautiful Bert used to cover it in his sets.
Everything was better than before. Not so many people at my door. Everything was something. Everything was clean. Everything was better than before.
A lot of bands do Empty. It's really an honor, you know. That was co-written with Bill Meisner, wrote the music, and I wrote the lyrics in 1992.
Yeah, what is Empty about anyway? I mean, I guess I
don't know, man. I had a big hangover one day, and I was sitting at the table, and Bill walks in and goes, "Hey, man," or he comes to my house, and Bill's like a teenager and who was in my band. He was like a big fan of the band, but his parents hated us because we were always in the paper a lot around that town, so everyone hated me. And Bill had to tell his parents he was in another band, like he made up a name. I'm going to band practice with my band, Wildflowers or whatever it was. But it was really, he was in my band doing gigs and doing everything with me, recording, and he had to hide it. So he comes over one day and he's like, "Bloody, I wrote my first original song. And I want to play it for you." I'm like, "Dude, awesome. I'm proud of you. Let's hear it." And he breaks it out. Dun 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 dun. Very basic, but very cool. I'm like, dude, I love the ambiance. I love it's dark. I love that tone. And I sat down and wrote those lyrics in a couple of minutes, man. I had a hangover and I was just like, everything is better than before. So many people beating on my door. The sun comes up and the moon goes down. Everything is better than before. And everyone looks better when they're gone. There's not so many other things around. Everything is empty. Everything is clean. Everything is better than before. And then the last one goes, "Not so many demons in my head. Not a lot of voices to be fed. The voices are real. I hear them all the time. Everyone looks better when they're dead." I don't really know what it's about, man.
Yeah. But
it just came to me in a flurry, and it's been recorded 3 times on my end. The first one you have there, which also was on the Hungover and Stoned album. The second version was with the Veins in '99 on that album.
Everything is better than before. Too many people beating on my door. The sun comes up and the moon goes down. Everything is better than before.
And the third version was in 2022 when I went to Scotland. I recorded it with Goggs, the guitar player for the band Holocaust, who wrote In the Small Hours that Metallica covered and made them all filthy rich.
Oh.
But Goggs did all the music on that. And then Pat McGlynn from the Bay City Rollers trades off vocals with me on it. It's pretty cool. He does all the talking parts and I do the screaming. And that was really a joy, man.
When they're gone, there's not too many other things around. Everything is empty. Everything's clean. Everyone looks better when they're gone.
But my favorite version is the original.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the time, but at some point I really want to hear about your time in Scotland and of course the Bay City Rollers, which yeah. I don't know if I want to get into.
I haven't done a lot of talk. I haven't done a lot of talking about that in publicly. So that's some good stuff. I was managing Pat McGlynn, who was in the Rollers, and that guy had a multi-platinum selling career in Japan. I'm talking, you walk into a store the other day and you'll hear Muzak and you'll hear like a Pat McGlynn song. But I was managing him for a couple of years, man, and I put out that Skies Are Blue CD as a tribute, which is right here. And this has got a few songs by yours truly, including that version of Empty that I told you about.
Yes.
It's got, some good stuff. But I put this out as a tribute to Pat, and I was able to do a lot of work with him for a couple of years and meet a lot of interesting people. Scotland's a trippy place, man. Very, very beautiful, very scenic. I love the history there, the oldness. I had a really crazy haunted experience happen. I don't know if you have time for me to tell you that, or if we should save it for later. Tracy, in a nutshell, there was a guy, and I forget his name. Tracy, what's that guy's name in Scotland? George, what was that guy's name that clawed you? Bloopdy George Mackenzie. This can be Googled. Bloopdy George Mackenzie was a guy that lived in Scotland. He died there. Can't go into details. He was an executioner. He was an executioner in Scotland in the old days. Anyway, he's buried at a particular place in Scotland that me and Sister Tracy went to, right? She'd been reading up on this for a long time. The most haunted place in Scotland, according to everything we've ever read. And everyone, hundreds and hundreds of testimonials of people that have had what I'm getting ready to tell you happened to her. Okay. So I went to do something. She went up to the boneyard and she found the grave of Bloopdy George Mackenzie, standing there watching it. And while she's doing it, she's all of a sudden starts feeling like she's seeing triple. And she's like, what's going on, man? Like signs of a stroke kind of thing.
Oh my.
She was there for 2 hours. 2 hours there standing there in this area, taking pictures and whatnot. And next thing you know, her neck started hurting. And then flash forward to me walking down the road looking for her. And I see her sitting on the grass at the edge of this cemetery, boneyard, whatever. And I'm like looking at her and she doesn't look good at all. I'm like, what the hell's going on with Tracy? And she's rubbing her eyes and she's looking out of it. And I'm like, Tracy, what's going on, man? Why are you sitting down? What? She was calling me over. Sorry, Tracy's in the other room interjecting. It's real time with Tracy and Bloopdy. But she called me over and she's like, come here. She goes, I'm seeing triple. And I'm like, what? Wow. Literally? She goes, yeah. I go, dude, that's a sign of a stroke. And there was other signs of something bad happening. And she goes, can you do me a favor? And she goes, can you look on the back of my neck? Just lift up my hair and look down my shirt line, my neckline. Dude, there was 3 big prominent scratches that are bright fucking red down her neck. We got online and Googled that gravesite and started digging some more. Hundreds of people had this exact same thing happen. Scratches down their freaking neck, dude. And I get shivers talking about it because Tracy's like, she's got a 4.0 master's in psychology, another master's in religious studies. Not the kind of person that's going to make up some crap like that. And she's my partner, and she was absolutely dazed and confused, sitting on the ground, seeing triple with claw marks from Bloopdy George Mackenzie. What? And then she's like, we got to get out of here. The energy around this place is absolutely palpable and it's real. We got to go. And we looked it up later, and dude, it just, you look it up, it'll make you freak out. It's so crazy, dude.
Does this ghost mainly target women, or is it depends?
I don't think it's just women. No, I think it's just that it's an extremely haunted place, and I think energy gets trapped. And a lot of people are going to have different opinions on this. Boy, this is good though, because it's good stuff. Yeah, but it happened, and it's real, and it's definitely not a joke. And when I read all that stuff that I read on all these different Reddits and all these different sub platforms and DuckDuckGo and Jabiru, not just Google, all these different other search engines, I was like, holy hell! And all the people he killed were what? They were in the prison. His mausoleum. Behind the mausoleum, there was a prison where they're all at. So this place is highly, with a lot of energy of people that were tortured and killed by this man. So who knows who did the scratching? Was it Bloopdy George Mackenzie? Was it one of his victims? Was it the energy of one of those people? Was it something demonic? It depends what you believe, I guess. What do you think, Angel? I don't know.
I definitely believe more of the form. Yeah. If it's probably that person. That's
wow.
This is the mausoleum of George Mackenzie. It's the poltergeist that other spirits fear. Apparently he likes to keep order here. And like I said before, likes to scratch people. There are pictures of it, whether you believe it or not. And this is where his body is. Mackenzie? Apparently if you shout, things happen. George Mackenzie. Must be having a rest. It certainly looks terrifying, doesn't it? Rest in peace, George. There's no name on this one anyway. Ah, fuck, what was that? It just hit me in the head. Fucking hell. Ah, fuck. It just hit me on my knee. Right, I'm out of here. Fuck this.